suggesting is that we direct the city attorney to propose, to write a possible amendment to the ordinance that we'll pass.
Yeah, I don't know how we would, what the
So the question is, do you want to amend the motion so that that is included, or to have that as a separate direction after the motion is voted on?
Yeah, separate direction seems fine to me.
Okay. Further discussion?
What were you going to?
Well,
I'm
sorry.
Go ahead.
No. Well, first of all, if you want to introduce this ordinance tonight, you first decide on how you want it worded, then you ask you pass a motion to have the city clerk read the ordinance by title only, then you make a motion to introduce the ordinance. So that's the process.
So first, though, we would have the motion to change.
You could have a motion to modify the language before it's introduced.
Oh, we could.
Yeah, but I'm a little confused about what you're trying to accomplish. If you want this council to have an opportunity to consider a statement of intent before this ordinance is adopted, then I think you should wait and just do it at the next meeting. If you want to go ahead and introduce this ordinance and then adopt it, and then adopt an amendment to it later to add that intent, then you could do that also, but then you'd be going through 2 more meetings at a later date to accomplish that.
Well, as the maker of the motion, I would prefer to do the former rather than the latter, and so not introduce the ordinance tonight, but ask you to bring it back and see how it reads and see if we're all still in agreement.
Councilmember Lenz.
Well, I think I'm counting correctly, but I just want to clarify that what I was saying when I said education was an important component to changing people's perspective about their duties as critter care providers is that that's not in addition to changing the language. I wasn't really saying that. Perhaps I didn't say it clearly, and I wanted to just say specifically that I don't think that it's, since it doesn't have legs legally, and since it doesn't really clarify things, and I don't think it's really going to reduce animal abuse, that my response about education was that I thought that was the alternate path through which the change could happen in our community.
Should I interpret that as a forecasting of a no vote?
Yes, you should interpret that way.
Further discussion? All in favor? Oh, roll call. No, this is, you let me know if this is correct, that we are simply telling our staff that we want to change the wording in a prospective ordinance from guardian to owner/guardian.
With
Yes.
within a paragraph of intent.
I'm not going to vote for that.
So what? How would you like to see it happen?
The way the original motion was worded was.
So are you? So when I said about that, I would say let's not introduce it tonight.
We're not introducing it. We're just sort of this motion is helps direct
Okay.
staff for
Okay.
wording.
Okay.
Councilmember Landis.
No.
Thomas.
Yes.
Crane.
No.
Roden.
Yes.
Mayor Baldwin.
Yes. Councilmember Crane.
May I be excused?
Yes, you may. Thank you. Now, is there further direction that we want to give to staff in terms of preparing this ordinance?
I would appreciate it if staff could come back when you bring the ordinance back with a statement of intent that we could discuss adding or not adding at that time.
is there any objection to that direction? Councilmember Thomas?
No, I have no objection. My comment was in a different direction.
Okay, so there's a consensus that when this is brought back to us, there will be suggested language for a section on intent. Moving on to new.
Can I make a comment on the process at this point?
Yes.
Mr. Epstein's hope that next time an issue this loaded comes up, that we might it might be handled in a different direction, I think is extremely valid. I think we had people talking across each other and not to each other on this matter, and some of the I'm not sure there was ever, maybe there was and I'm not aware of it, but I don't know that we ever had a kind of attempt to get the proponents and opponents to explain each other adequately to each other, so that there might have been some degree of greater understanding and less divisiveness around this issue. So I think that is one of my concerns. The other point and this goes to Mr. Graff's comment as well as what I've been hearing from my wife a lot, and that is this has been a lot of time for the council, a lot of time for the staff, and there are very, very pressing matters before the council that need to be dealt with, and I think we need to be mindful as we set agendas and so on of where our priorities should go vis-a-vis the crises, the multiple crises that are facing us at this point.
I want to follow up on that and argue that the several hours that the council has spent on this issue has in no way inhibited our drilling of a water well, our efforts to make sure that we have protected our water rights, the further enhancement of our sewage treatment plant, and all the other critical issues that we are dealing with. And as I've mentioned in discussions with Councilmember Thomas before, I believe the most significant changes in our society since the get-go, thousands of years ago, have been the result of very controversial, very divisive, heated debate and discussion, and that's simply the way it is. We're moving on to new business. Discussion of a possible appointment of Planning Commission member.
That'd be me.
And this, I believe, goes to Council Member Landis.
Well, I would like to nominate a person in our community who has just in the last 6 months completed 250 hours of land use and environmental planning training at UC Davis, and completed that training just this last November. Her name is Linda Helen. She works for Public Health currently, and I think she'll be an asset to the health-focused perspective of our built community, and an asset on the Planning Commission. So that's who I'm nominating.
Does the process demand a motion and a second? Do you?
I don't think.
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess, I mean, all it requires is a vote approving the, or not approving the nomination.
Yeah, that's very fascinating.
But we normally take action by motions, so if you were to proceed that way, it would be.
I think that would be probably best